More than 200 people gathered at the Wells Ice Cream Parlor to include several area college students. DeSantis touched on several topics to include the southern border, conflict in the Middle East, as well as education.
I really liked what he had to say about school boards and using Florida as a kind of testing ground for policies.
It's important to vote to get your voice heard out there. That's what we can do and what the founding fathers wanted us to do, so it's important to go out there and do your vote to vote since they gave us that right.
During his visit to Lamar's, DeSantis urged everyone to take part in the Iowa caucus January 15th.
And following that event in Lamar's, DeSantis spoke with KTIV's Katie Koppel about his campaign in Iowa and what he's doing ahead of the first-in-the-nation caucuses.
Governor, we're going to start right here with the Iowa caucus. We're 3 months away. Your campaign just announced they're moving about a third of your staff to Iowa. How important is the Iowa caucus, the first in the nation, to win that presidential nomination?
This is the first time people actually get to register their votes, and we've talked about all this other stuff, but this is where it all began. I'm the only candidate that's doing all 99 counties, so by the end of today, we'll have done 74 of the 99, and we're going to end up getting close to 99 this month. So I'm going to save that 99 till we get a little closer so we can have some fanfare about it, but that's really what I think is great about this. You show up, we go to all these places, and people appreciate when you're trying to earn their vote. Nobody's entitled to this. You got to go out, you got to earn it, you got to answer their questions, you got to talk about your vision for the country and why you'd be a good president. That's exactly what we've done, and we're going to do that for the next 99 days.
So recent polling shows Donald Trump still has a lead in Iowa. What are you doing to maybe gain up on him, or can you, and is second good enough for your campaign?
Oh, we definitely, we're going to win here. I think you have some votes that are clearly for him, but I think a lot of these other people, they haven't made final decisions yet. And what I've found is when I go out and articulate my vision, and when I show them what I've done as a leader, I get a lot of people come to me, yeah, I was going to do Trump, but you're right. We need something new. They do appreciate I can serve 2 terms. Trump cannot. He would be a lame duck. They also understand that, for whatever reason, there are a lot of Americans that just will never vote for Trump. It's more visceral, not policy. Whereas in Florida, I want a big landslide victory. So I've shown an ability to win the types of voters we need to be able to actually win the White House. And we've had 2018, 20, and 22, we've had substandard elections for Republicans. 24, there's no excuses. We've got to get the job done, and I think people see in me somebody who can get the job done.
So what do you bring to Iowans and Americans that others in the White House or who are on this campaign trail don't bring to the country?
A couple things. One, I'm the only one that's a veteran that served in uniform. I'll be the first president elected since 1988 that served our country overseas in a war. And I think it's a very dangerous world. I'll have the respect of the people who are serving, and I think we'll be good to help recruit additional good people. Second, I'm a dad. I got a 6'5" and a 3-year-old. All these issues with parents' rights, education that are so important to get right in our country, that's personal for me and my wife, and so we live it. And then finally, I'm the only guy running who everything I promised I would do as governor of the 3rd largest state, I delivered on. At the end of the day, leadership is not entertainment. It's not about drama. We don't need any more chaos. What we need is proven results. And I'll be judged as a president about the results that I'm able to deliver, and nothing else matters.
So one final question. Should you win that presidential nomination and the White House, what is your first order of business once you get into the White House?
We're going to do a national emergency to stop the invasion at the southern border. That'll mean military at the border, and that will mean we'll use deadly force against the Mexican drug cartels who are killing tens of thousands of our Americans with fentanyl. And oh, by the way, with what we saw in Israel, you don't think some of our enemies have taken advantage of that border to move people in? We know people from China, Iran, Russia have come across the border of the Middle East. So it's a huge security risk. I'm going to stop it.
Anything else you want to add in before we wrap up?
Sure. Well, we ask everybody in Iowa to come and caucus in January. I'm asking for their support. I'll be a nominee that will get the job done for Republicans. I'll be a leader they can be proud of. And as a president, I won't let them down.